Hi friends, welcome back to my Cozy Crafty Cabin. My name is Rayanne. Today is day 2 of my 12 Days of Christmas in July crafty series, and I wanted to share 2 of my favorite ways for making these mini 3x4 cards and envelopes. So if you're not new to my channel, I'm sure you've seen me make these mini 3x4 cards before. They're one of my favorite things to make. It's a great paper busting project. It's also a no scrap or minimal scrap project depending on how you make them. And I just love the mini 3x4 size. So it's perfect to add a gift card or just to give out holiday cards to your kids' classroom, teachers, co-workers, neighbors, anyone really. So I'm going to show you my 2 favorite layouts for making these 3x4 cards. Both are very clean and simple. One is just using 2x2 cut-aparts and single-sided 12x12 paper, and the other is using 3x4 cut-aparts that are double-sided and some cardstock. So here are the collections I'll be using for today's project. I have this beautiful 6x6 paper pad from Cartabella called Letters to Santa. It's perfect because it has both 2x2 cut-aparts and 3x4 cut-aparts, but I'll just be using the 3x cut-aparts from this paper pad today. And then I have this full 12x12 sheet of 2x2 cut-aparts from Simple Stories. It's their Jingle All the Way collection. And then I'll also be pulling single-sided 12x12 sheets from this old Hot Buy paper pad to make some card bases and envelopes to coordinate with the 2x2 cut-aparts. So let's begin with the 2x2 cut-aparts. Now there are 36 cut-aparts on the sheet, so we will get to make 36 cards, one cut-apart for each card. So this is a great paper busting project, especially if you have single-sided 12x12 pattern cardstock, because that is what we will use to make our card bases and envelopes, but you can of course use double-sided paper as well. I would just add an additional mat to the inside of your cards for a writing space. So once I cut out all of my 2x2 cut-aparts, then I go through my 12x12 paper pad and decide what sheets I want to use for my card bases and envelopes. This paper pad worked great because it had a ton of just pattern paper and not too many cut-apart sheets at all. So I also thought the colors and patterns coordinated really well too with my cut-apart sheet. So that worked out great. This is a great project to work in an assembly line, and it helps the process just go quicker. So next I decide which 12x12 papers I will be using for my card bases and which ones I will be using for my envelopes. So to make the card bases, you will get 6 card bases from one 12x12 sheet. And since we have 36 total cards to make, we need 6 12x12 sheets for our card bases, right? So 6 times 6 is 36. So to make the card bases, you simply just cut your paper down the middle at 6 inches, and then you're going to take that 6x12 piece and cut it at 4 inches on the 12-inch side, slide it down and cut it at 4 inches again, and you'll do the same exact thing to that other 6x12 piece. So you will end up with 6 pieces that measure 6 by 4 inches. So once you cut all of your card bases, so all 6 sheets, I then move on to cutting the bases for the envelopes. So for a 3 by 4 card, you need a 6 by 6 piece of paper to make your envelope. So you will get 4 envelopes from one 12 by 12 sheet. So we will need 9 12 by 12 sheets altogether to make our 36 envelopes, right? So 4 times 9 is 36. So you see how this quickly becomes a paper busting project. So once I get all of my envelope bases cut, I then move on to scoring all my card bases. So you will score each card base just down the middle at 3 inches on the 6-inch side. I don't always score my card bases, but I knew this paper tended to crack, so I went ahead and scored my bases to try to minimize any paper cracking. So once I've scored and folded all of my card bases, I then lay out all of my 2x2 cut-aparts. I have them kind of organized here by color, and then I go through and decide which card base I want to pair with each cut-apart. I like to do this before I start gluing things down. So here I'm showing you that you could add a mat in to the front of your card bases and stamp a sentiment if you'd like, but I actually prefer just like the simplicity of the cut apart by itself. I feel like you can get away with this, like with no mats, since we're using pattern cardstock as our card bases. So once I glue down all of the cut aparts to my card bases, I then move on to making my envelopes. So I got this new craft tool for my birthday. It's called The Works All-in-One Tool by What We Are Memory Makers, and it's awesome. I love it. So you can trim your paper, score, make envelopes, like all that with just this one tool. But what I didn't realize is their envelope guide actually calls for a 5 3/4 square piece of paper to make an envelope for a 3x4 card. So but I had already like cut my paper down to 6x6 because that's what I'm used to cutting for my envelopes. That's like based off the guide from my Fiskars gifting board. So since I'd already cut my paper down to 6x6, I just followed those measurements instead of the measurements on this new tool. And it worked out just fine in the end. But I definitely still have a little bit of a learning curve in just getting used to this new tool, but I really do love it, and it's super convenient to have everything in one tool. So once I score and punch all of my envelopes, I then fold down on all the score lines and glue the bottom envelope flaps. I left one card and envelope to assemble on camera, but as you'll see, we're keeping things super clean and simple here. So I'm just adding adhesive to my 2x2 cut apart and centering it on my 3x4 card base, and then folding down on the score lines for my envelope and adding adhesive to that bottom flap to glue it together. So here are the 36 cards and envelopes I made using the 2x2 cut apart sheet from Simple Stories, and then the single-sided 12x12 pattern paper from the Hot Buy paper pad. So next I want to share my other favorite method for making these 3x4 mini cards, and for this style we're going to use some 3x4 cut aparts that come from this double-sided 6x6 paper pad. So after I cut out the cut aparts, I then grab some red cardstock to make the card bases, and all you need is a 4x4 square to make the card base. So I just cut 2 squares since I'm just making 2 cards, and I use this 8.5 by 11 cardstock, but using 12 by 12 cardstock would be great as well, because then you could make 9 card bases from one 12 by 12 sheet and have no scraps left. So next we need to trim down our 3x4 cut-aparts slightly. I do this because I like to have a little like border on the front of my card bases. So I just trim off 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides of the cut-apart. And this is where I ran into a little bit of a hiccup with my new all-in-one tool. I found that when I was just making like a small cut, so this like 1/8 inch that I wanted to take off, my paper was like sliding. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it got wonky. So I had to like clean them up with scissors, and I ended up just pulling out my like Fiskars trimmer to do the other one. So for the card bases, we're going to take those 4x4 squares and score each square at just 1 inch. And when you fold over, you will, on that score line, you will be left with a 3x4 card base with the front of the card just having that 1 inch panel on the far left side. So all we have to do is then adhere our cut-aparts to our card bases. So I like to add adhesive to like the far left side, the back side of my cut-apart, and then the far right edge of that 1 inch panel on our card bases. Just be sure to leave a gap on like the top and bottom, since we're going to have that 1/8 border that goes around, you know, our cut-aparts. And that's it, you guys. It's just super clean and simple, but really cute in my opinion. So next I decided to just pull 2 6x6 sheets from the same paper pad to make some envelopes for these cards. This time I actually followed the envelope guide for this all-in-one tool, so I trimmed my paper down to 5 3/4 inch squares and made the envelopes, and they turned out great. So here are all the cards I made. First, these 2 cards using the 3x4 cut-aparts, and then all the 36 cards we made from using the 2x2 cut-aparts. So many cards. Let me know if you guys prefer one style over the other. But thank you so much for watching, for liking my videos, for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate you all so much. I hope you've enjoyed this video and are enjoying this 12 Days of Christmas in July Crafty series so far. I have all my videos planned out for the series, and I'm just super excited to get to crafting. But thank you so much again, and stay cozy. Bye.